I'm Dr. Matt Johnson, an AI researcher living in Japan, but I used to be a professional game developer. Making games was great, but I want games to be more. That's why I'm building JpnMana. If built right, you'll learn the Japanese language, Japan's culture and history, and its geography, just from enjoying a game.
Sprint 13.
Alright, so we have our UI design. The goal of this sprint is to implement each element and then connect the wires and logic behind each component. Settings page getting started. We've got our design from last week. Now we've got 2 drop downs with some hard-coded values. Alright, decent progress so far. We've got all our UI elements and the layout's looking good. So looking at the logic, this seems like it's going to be a little bit more complicated. I'm slightly too tired to deal with it right now, so I'm going to head to bed, but I'll explain it tomorrow. The main function begins in either simulation or interactive mode. In simulation mode, the user describes how many simulations to execute, and this becomes fight count. A do battle function kicks off the AI, and the computer chooses the target and an action for each hero. These actions are resolved, and update effects and cooldowns are calculated. In the interactive GUI, this process doesn't exist. Do battle still exists, as well as resolve actions and update effects and cooldowns. However, process AI differs, and all of this is event driven. Clicking fight allows the user to choose an action. Choosing the action allows the user to choose a target, and then all of these are sent to resolve action. In the current design, we have 2 separate processes for simulation mode and event driven mode, which is used by the GUI. We'd like to create a unified GUI. For starters, the interactive GUI experience and the main function need to be combined. From there, the processes that are executed after the fight settings are selected needs to also be unified. Once the process is complete, the user will be returned back to the initial GUI state, and the user can play again. Okay, so I made a quick conversion here. Okayama, these are the battle presets. These are now loading from data. I have a JSON file in the background that gets loaded to populate this, as well as the lands here. So now in theory, from the settings page, we can choose battle preset to test out a particular battle and battlefield to test on. And these are now being dynamically loaded. So the next phase will be to populate the heroes here on the right-hand side as the player chooses some presets. And then when we click apply, we expect this window to close and then populate the corresponding battle. All right, we got a little bit of progress here. So now if we change the battle, we get the proper guys loading. So that's decent. Just a lot of guys. So I don't know, so good so far. If we change the land, the battlefield looks like we can close this. So far so good. However, next issue. Yeah, we can see this resets, I think. So we apply this, we go back in here. Yeah, it resets here. So that's what we'll fix next. Hey, so as many of you might know, one of the main goals of JpnMana is to do language acquisition research for second language learning. With that in mind, real quick, let me share some news with you.
Hey, Johnson, do you remember the paper we wrote for system about the lexical complexity?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
we made you helped me make a tool. All right, you did a lot of the heavy lifting. I did a lot of the heavy testing, I think. But yeah, the tool, it got in. We got the acceptance letter for system, DOI and everything. It hasn't been assigned an issue yet. Pre-stages, we can still make a couple of last-minute edits. But thanks very much, and I appreciate your help with that.
Hey, great news, though. Cheers, man.
Yeah,
thanks
no problem.
for letting me know.
Thanks very much.
Well, anyway, nice bit of news, and it feels good to publish something hopefully useful again. All right, final day of the sprint here. Just want to demonstrate the last feature of the sprint. We've got this value cache now, so when we change the battle presets or the lands, the values update as intended, and it works like we expect. Overall, pretty good sprint. No hardware failures. Can't really complain. All right, Sprint 13 recap. We'll talk about the sprint report, a dilemma I'm facing with Tkinter, and the main topic of the day, battle settings. Well, ticket completion's looking a little sparse. Long story short, I forgot to update Jira throughout the 2-week sprint. Moving on. Tkinter's good, but it's not great. I'd love to dump it. It requires a bothersome amount of custom code to even do simple behaviors. For example, mouse over. I want to keep the code in Python because it's easily transferable to Django, which is also in Python, and that's what the website runs. Unity or Unreal have great UI systems, but those are written in C#, JavaScript, C++, and that's not as easily transferred to Django. Maybe there's some kind of multi-language solution there, but it sounds like that's going to be a load of headaches. PyQt might have been a good alternative, and I might be suffering from sunk cost fallacy. Maybe I should just give up on Tkinter and move to PyQt. Alternatively, maybe changing GUI libraries is a whole bunch of work too. So it might be less work to just keep using Tkinter and learn more about how to use that efficiently rather than learning a new GUI library. Well, so what are you going to do? I guess that's why they call it a dilemma. We started out with a UI design from last time, and as you've seen, we spent the majority of that time implementing this feature. It's worth noting the reason the sprint report doesn't have a lot of completed tasks is dynamically loading data for the battle settings page was a set of tasks that I forgot to include in the beginning of the sprint. Last but not least, the Meizan project is continuing, and I'm editing the footage together now for the first mount in Akagi-san. So stay tuned. As always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share, and we really appreciate your support.